Fatima Al-Takruri and her sister Muna were traveling from Fort Lauderdale back to their home in Dallas on a Southwest Airlines flight. When they boarded, they say they saw two empty seats together in an exit row. But when they sat there, they were approached by a female flight attendant. The sisters say they were told that Muna could sit there, but Fatima could not because she doesn't speak English.
And that's what makes it even more appalling. The fact that I'm actually corresponding with her in the language she is asking me with, and she continues to say that I do not speak English, is very upsetting in my opinion.
The only difference between the two American-born sisters is that Fatima says she was wearing a hijab much like the headscarf she is wearing today, while her sister was not. They ended up sitting separately on the airplane and asked to talk to the flight attendant and a supervisor when they landed.
And once we arrived, we're like, you know what? Let's go to her, talk to her. Maybe she'll say sorry, maybe something like that. But she was like, get off the plane.
In a written statement to WFAA, Southwest said it neither condones nor tolerates discrimination of any kind. Since Southwest Airlines' inception, we have put people first and maintain a mutual respect for our fellow Southwest employees, our customers, and the diverse communities that we serve. We apologize to any customer who has a less than positive travel experience on Southwest, and will look into the specific passenger situation referenced.
I think they need to retrain their employees. I really do.
Training is not the problem, racism is the problem, and the racism that this flight attendant showed is completely unacceptable.
Now they wait for a personal response from the airline before they choose to fly again. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.